Hello Summoners and welcome back to another ProGuides patch rundown video. My name is Christoph and today I'm going to go over all the changes that were made in patch 9.23. I'll cover all the details including a tier list for each role that was made by our challenger analysts and partnered pro players. Patch 9.23 is a gigantic patch and it's also the start of preseason 10, so there's a ton of changes. But remember, since the patch just hit the live servers, please do keep in mind that our tier lists are purely predictions. We encourage all our viewers to comment on our lists and say if you agree or disagree with us on specific champion placements. Also, as a reminder, there will be an updated tier list 1 week into the patch where we use fresh statistics to give you guys the best and most accurate tier lists available. And before we forget, today's question of the day is, which champion would you like to see get nerfed or buffed in Season 10? I honestly think that some Skarner buffs would be nice because he's quite weak at the moment and needs a bit of love. And for all of you guys who will be grinding it out this preseason to try and get into a great rank during the regular season, then go to ProGuides.com where you'll be able to reach your dream rank within weeks. ProGuides.com is the best proven way to get better at League of Legends, and we have thousands of video guides similar to this one. So what are you waiting for? Click the description, pick up a challenger level coach, and get to the dream division you belong in. With that being said, let's run down right into the video. Alright, to start things off, let's go over some new skins that are joining us on the Rift this patch. First up, we have Pulsefire Thresh. This skin kind of reminds me of the Terminators from the movie series. Then we have the Prestige Edition Pulsefire Thresh skin, which looks incredible. And lastly, we have Victorious Aatrox. If you hit gold in any ranked queue during Season 9, then you'll receive a Victorious Aatrox skin for free. One more thing before we get into the balance changes, a brand new champion will be joining us on the Rift next patch, and his name is Aphelios, the Weapon of the Faithful. Emerging from Moonlight's shadow with weapons drawn, Aphelios kills the enemies of his faith in brooding silence, speaking only through the certainty of his aim and the firing of his gun. Aphelios is another marksman champion, and I cannot wait until he hits the Rift. Also, make sure to hit that sub button if you want a guide from him, because we're going to be releasing that, and if you want to stay updated with his release as well. Now, on to the balance changes. There aren't going to be any specific champion balance changes in patch 9.23, but don't worry, there are still some huge updates coming to other parts of the game. So for this patch, we'll be going over all the balance changes first, and then you can stick around till the end for the tier lists. Since preseason 2020 is called Rise of the Elements, it makes perfect sense that the elemental dragons are all being changed this patch. First up, we now have bonuses that are called Elemental Rifts. Every game, Summoner's Rift will now present a variety of distinct and memorable environments for players to master. There are 4 different elemental rifts, and they each represent the specific elemental drake that they are paired with. The third dragon of each game will decide the elemental rift presented for the remainder of your match. However, do keep in mind that the first 3 dragons will always be unique now. This means that you will no longer see 3 infernal dragons in a row. Infernal Rift will sunder the map, creating new pathways through buff camps and burning away their brushes. In addition to that, the dragon pit itself will become a molten domain, crumbling the walls at the mouth of the pit. These new paths create more opportunities for a quick flank or escape. Ocean Rift will bring new life to the map, causing existing brushes to expand and fresh patches of grass to grow around the dragon pit. In addition to that, the environment will flood with pools of water, and honey fruit will start sprouting around the jungle quadrants. Cloud Rift will now spawn air currents flowing through the jungle and Dragon Pit, which will speed you up while you're in them. And finally, Mountainous Rift will trigger a seismic shift throughout the rift. Bluffs of rock erupt from the earth and create some new scary choke points and ambush locations. Next up, we also have 2 brand new effects called Elemental Buffs and Dragon Souls. Dragon Souls are when a team kills their 4th elemental drake, which will now gain a very powerful buff instead of the normal stacking effect. Dragon Souls persist through their death and last the remainder of the game. Infernal Dragon Soul will allow your spells or next attack to create an AoE explosion, dealing damage that scales with your AD, AP, and bonus health. This can be used every 3 seconds. Also, killing the Infernal Dragon will give you the same effect that it does now, but scaled down a bit and provide you extra AP and AD. Ocean Dragon Soul will start healing your mana and HP by a huge amount after you've dealt damage. Dealing damage to minions provides less regeneration. Killing the Ocean Dragon will have the mana regen completely removed, but will heal you for a % of your missing HP. Cloud Dragon Soul will now give you a burst of movement speed for 3 seconds after using your ultimate. Killing the Cloud Drake will now give you bonus CDR for your ultimate cooldown rather than the movement speed from last patch. Mountain Dragon Soul will give you a shield that lasts until it's destroyed every 5 seconds that you haven't taken damage. Killing a Mountain Dragon will give you a % increase of armor and magic resist instead of bonus damage towards objectives. And lastly, we have the Elder Dragon, which will actually have one of the most powerful effects that we've seen in League of Legends thus far. Enemies who are below a specific health threshold will be automatically executed after taking damage from an opponent. This means that if you get Karthus ulted and you survive with a small amount of health, you'll be instantly killed by this buff. Wow, that's a big one. Next up, we have changes coming to the bot and top lane, which will have an alcove added to the middle of each lane. Adding these alcoves will allow for some more outplay potential and more sneaky plays. In addition to that, solo lane influence will be buffed in Season 10 as well, and XP will be gained slightly faster for those mid and top laners. If you are in a solo lane, then you'll receive 2% bonus XP for killing minions, and bot laners will now gain 2.4% less XP than before. That's a pretty big change, guys. It's going to change the way you think about XP and getting to those power spikes this season. Jungle will also see a ton of changes in terms of balance. Junglers will now have to think more about their pathing rather than just playing around their Krug spawns. These Krugs will now have their XP and gold changed in order to open up more diverse pathing options and jungle strats. However, Gromp's XP and gold value has been increased so that junglers can hit level 3 no matter which buff they start. On top of that, Rift Herald will also spawn at 8 minutes instead of 10 minutes, which will open up for some more opportunities for team play. This also means that Rift Herald can respawn after it's been slain once 6 minutes has passed. On top of that, the Eye of the Herald pickup window has been lowered from 40 seconds to 20 seconds, and the channel has been buffed to 1 second instead of 4 seconds. There are a few other changes that you can find for the Rift Herald that you can see on the screen here. And lastly, the non-buff jungle camps have also been changed to respawn every 2 minutes instead of 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but the average camp gold and XP have been decreased by 5%. But for all the hard farming champs out there, the gold and XP per minute for pure hard farming has been buffed by a whopping 12%. Okay, now on to the item changes. First up, let's talk about the items that are going to be removed. ZZ Rot Portal, Ohm Wrecker, Spear of Shojin, Raptor Cloak, and Brawler's Glove are being removed from the game. Goodbye forever, and thank God, Spear of Shojin is being removed. Next up, we're having the support items completely reworked. This means that the older support items from this season are being changed, and some new ones are being introduced. These new support items are called Steel Shoulder Guards, Spell Thief's Edge, Relic Shield, and Spectral Sickle. Steel Shoulder Guards and Relic Shield work very similarly. Both of them cost 400 gold, give you 30 health, plus 2 gold per 10 seconds, and give you either 3 AD or 5 AP. In addition to this, their unique passives are the same and will execute minions below 50% of their max health while sharing gold with an ally. Spell Thief's Edge and Spectral Sickle will work very similarly as well. Both of them cost 400 gold, give you 10 health, and 5 AD or 8 AP, with plus 2 gold per 10 seconds. In addition to this, their unique passives are the same and will grant you gold every time you hit an enemy or building. All 4 of these support items will upgrade by themselves towards the next tier whenever you stack enough gold with them. This means that you will no longer be able to purchase the second tier of these upgrades, but will have to earn them instead. That's going to be an interesting new way to play support this season. Okay, that's it for the support items. Let's move on to lethality items. First up, we have a small change to Serrated Dirk, which will have its Headhunter passive removed. Next up, Youmuu's Ghostblade will now allow you to move through units while the passive is active. On the other hand, Dustblade of Drakthar will now have its AD bonus increased from 55 to 60, but the Blackout passive has been removed. In addition to this, the item will cost a bit less and will only be 925 gold after you purchase the 2 components. Edge of Night will have its cost reduced by 100 and the combined cost lowered from 625 to 525. The health of this item has been buffed from 250 to 325, the lethality lowered from 18 to 10, and the AD lowered from 55 to 50. On top of that, the unique passive will now work the same as Banshee's Veil instead of the usual passive, so you won't be able to choose when to proc it. Then we have two new lethality items coming this patch called Sanguine Blade and Umbral Glaive. Umbral Glaive will cost 2,400 gold, grants you 50 AD, 10% CDR, 12 lethality, and will have the Blackout passive from the previous Dusk Blade. Sanguine Blade will now cost 3,000 gold, and it will grant you 50 AD, 15% lifesteal, 10 lethality, and the unique passive will give you 8 lethality and 40 to 100% attack speed over 3 seconds while one or fewer enemy champions are around. These new items are going to be extremely effective for all those AD assassins out there like Zed, Talon, and Rhaegar, so make sure to look out for those guys. I can also already see Sanguine Blade being very effective in the top lane due to the passive being favorable in isolated scenarios. Alright, now let's go on to the ADC items. First up, we have Zeal. Zeal will now cost 1,400 gold, and it'll have its crit strike increased from 15% to 25%, but the attack speed has been lowered by 3%. This item will also build out of Cloak of Agility now instead of the Knuckle. Speaking of Cloak of Agility, this item will have its crit chance increased by 5%. Next up, we have changes to Stormrazor. Pretty much only 2 champions in the game were building this item, who are Graves and Kai'Sa. However, for Season 10, the Balance team want to encourage other AD carries to build this more often and are making some big changes. The cost of Stormrazor has been increased by 100, the AD has been increased by 5, the attack speed lowered by 15%, but here's the real kicker. This item will now grant 25% crit chance. This means it'll appeal to a lot more AD carries than just Kai'Sa and will be a great first item. Next up, we got changes to energized effects, which will now stack. Kerch's Shard will have its cost increased from 600 to 800, and Phantom Dancer will have its cost increased as well by 200. Rapid Fire Cannon will have its combined cost lowered from 800 to 400, but overall, it'll stay the same. The energized damage on this item has been changed from 60 to 140 to 120 flat, and it'll no longer increase energized charge speed. Runehead's Hurricane will have its combined cost lowered by 200 to compensate for the Cloak of Agility cost increase, and lastly, Static Shiv will have its combined cost lowered by 400, and the energized damage changed from 60 to 140 to 120 flat. That's it for the ADC items. Let's move on to the final section, which covers a few changes to general items. Shirelia's Reverie will be changed this patch to now cost 2050 gold, and it'll grant 300 HP, 10% CDR, 100% mana and HP regen, 10% heal and shield power, and the active will now give you and your allies 40% movement speed for 3 seconds. Doran's Shield will now have its unique passive changed to now regenerate up to 40 health over 8 seconds after taking damage from any enemy champion based off missing health. Okay, that's it for items, guys. Now let's move on to the runes. Firstly, we have Conqueror, which is receiving a rework this patch. The new effect will now be similar to the old Fervor. Basic attacks and spells that deal damage to an enemy now grant 2 stacks of Conqueror for 8 seconds, gaining 2 to 5 adaptive force per stack. This stacks up to 10 times, and ranged champs only gain 1 stack per basic attack. At max stacks, you heal for 15% of the damage you deal to champions. Next up, we have Presence of Mind, which will now restore 20% of your max mana and energy, and increase your max mana by 100 up to 500, or energy by 10 up to 50 every time you kill someone. The ultimate cooldown has been removed as well. Nimbus Cloak will also see some changes this patch, and it'll now give you a movement speed buff that lasts for 2.5 seconds after casting a summoner spell. This bonus increases from 15 to 35% based off the summoner cooldown. Aftershock will also have some changes this season, and it'll now grant you more bonuses based off your bonus resists. It'll have less base scaling, and the cooldown will be lowered by 15 seconds. Eyeball Collection has been changed as well to now grant 0.6 AD or 1 AP per stack, and the complete amount has been changed from 10 eyeballs to 20 eyeballs. However, killing an enemy will grant you 2 stacks and assists will only grant you 1. And lastly, we have a brand new keystone which will replace the current kleptomancy called Omnistone. Omnistone provides you a single use of another random keystone. Every 8 to 4 seconds you'll gain a random keystone, and after 40 seconds of not using that rune, you'll be given a new one. Alright, now that is it for the runes, XP, jungle, dragons, and item changes. So, let's get into what you've all been waiting for, the tier list. Starting with, you know what, the top lane. The top lane tier list sees a ton of changes made this patch. In the S+ tier, we have the two champions, which are going to be Garen, who we all knew, and Singed. Garen remains in the S+ tier due to his ability to abuse the new Conqueror and stack it to full in a very short amount of time thanks to his E. He will still be that insanely powerful top laner, and the only difference is that he'll have to opt for Black Cleaver rather than Triforce due to the removal of Conqueror's true damage. Singed, on the other hand, has been added to the S+ tier due to the buffs and cooldown reductions made to Aftershock. Aftershock Singed will be very powerful in the top lane during the preseason, and he can pretty much win lane versus most of the S tier or A tier members. His fling will have a similar cooldown to the Aftershock rune itself, making Singed an extremely tanky champion during those lane trades. In our S tier, we have Fiora, Darius, Heimerdinger, Illaoi, Malphite, Kled, and Pantheon. Heimerdinger and Fiora will be able to use the new Conqueror very effectively this patch. In fact, Heimer will likely be untouchable in the top lane due to the healing and bonus stats from Conqueror. Malphite as well will be added to the S tier this patch due to the sustain from Conqueror. Malphite thrives off those long extended trades, and having that extra healing will really help him out. Darius and Pantheon, on the other hand, can easily abuse the Aftershock to win every trade during the laning phase. Having Aftershock's cooldown lowered from 35 seconds to 20 really shakes up the top lane meta, and it'll become favorable to those who can abuse it. In the A tier, we have a few notable picks, which are going to be Volibear, Irelia, Riven, Camille, and Poppy. Poppy and Volibear are again easy Aftershock abusers who can win lane with ease. There will be a very short window where you can engage onto them during the laning phase because of Aftershock's new cooldown. Camille, Riven, and Irelia are notable due to their ability to thrive off of Conqueror's new stacking system. However, these three champions are kept in check due to a meta where Renekton, Garen, and Volibear are present. Alright, now on to the jungle. The jungle tier list also sees a ton of changes this patch. In our S+ tier, we have Karthus, Evelynn, and Nunu. The main reason behind Karthus and Evelynn is due to the 12% XP increase for champions who hard farm jungle camps. In addition to this, camps now spawn every 2 minutes instead of 2.5 minutes, which means they'll have a lot more farming available to them. Nunu, on the other hand, can easily abuse the new Aftershock rune so that it'll be up for every gank. In addition to this, he can also keep up with the jungle camp timers due to his fast and healthy clear. In the S tier, we have Kha'Zix, Echo, Shaco, Lee Sin, Kayn, Kindred, Nidalee, and Graves. Kayn, Nidalee, and Graves have all been in and out of the S tier multiple times during Season 9. However, for pre-Season 10, they'll be added to the S tier due to the same XP buffs that we mentioned for Karthus. Hard farming the jungle is a lot more rewarding and valuable now, and these champs can thrive off of it during the early to mid game. In addition to this, Nidalee and Graves can all use the new Conqueror pretty effectively throughout the game. Kha'Zix and Rengar, on the other hand, are very effective with the new lethality items, which will boost their win rate by quite a bit. A few notable picks in our A tier are going to be Master Yi, Gragas, and Zac. Since Aftershock's cooldown has been changed, Zac and Gragas will be able to have it up for every single gank. This is very valuable because it'll provide them with a lot of tankiness after engaging a fight. Master Yi, on the other hand, will thrive in this meta due to the favorability of hard farming combined with the new Conqueror. Alright, that's it for the jungle. Let's move on to the mid lane. The mid lane tier list sees a ton of changes as well. In the S+ tier, we have one member, which is going to be Talon. Talon has been in our S+ tier for quite some time, but he's becoming even stronger due to the addition of those new lethality items. Being able to roam the map with incredibly strong burst will be the key to climbing in this patch. In the S tier, we have Fizz, Zed, Echo, Ahri, Pantheon, Qiyana, and Malzahar. Most of these members shouldn't come as a surprise to you because they've been in our S tier before. Pantheon and Qiyana, however, have been added due to the new lethality items. Pantheon as well can abuse the new Aftershock buffs while keeping the same level of burst from before. He is a strong contender to make the S+ tier if everything goes the way we predict. A few notable members in our A tier are going to be Heimerdinger and Nocturne. Heimerdinger has been moved up to the A tier this patch due to the new Conqueror rune, which will help him out a ton in the mid lane. He's one of the only mid laners who can stack this very fast and efficiently, which plays towards his strengths during long fights. Nocturne, on the other hand, would normally be in the S+ tier this patch, but he's been dropped to the A tier due to changes on Presence of Mind. Since this rune no longer grants you cooldown reduction on your ultimate, it'll become a lot harder for Nocturne to impact the side lanes. Okay, now that's it for mid laners. Now on to the ADCs. The AD tier list also sees a ton of changes. In the S+ tier, we have 3 members who are Kai'Sa, Draven, and Caitlyn. Kai'Sa and Caitlyn both benefit from a large amount of the ADC item changes, especially the Stormrazor buffs. Kai'Sa can now do even more damage with the buffed Stormrazor and still have enough attack speed from her other items to get her E-Evolve. Draven, on the other hand, finally has a keystone that'll work well with his kit. Conqueror is going to likely be the best option for him now, and it's going to amp up his damage by a lot. Tyler 1 is going to be super happy. On top of that, Draven will feel a lot more satisfying to play. In the S tier, we have Lucian, Jinx, Xayah, and Ashe. These 4 champions have been in our S tier before and are still solid picks for the upcoming meta. Lethal Tempo is still the way to go for Jinx, Xayah, and Ashe, and PTA will still likely be the optimal setup for Lucian. However, it wouldn't surprise me if a few of these switched over to Conqueror because of the pure value that it provides. A few notable picks that we want to mention are Ezreal and Miss Fortune. Ezreal received a ton of nerfs within the past few months and has been nerfed again by the removal of Kleptomancy. Klepto was an essential part of Ezreal's kit, and it helped him speed up his progress towards his power spikes. Miss Fortune was also placed in our S+ tier last patch, but has been dropped due to the removal of Klepto. Although she is still a strong pick, Miss Fortune will likely be a lot weaker than before, and you won't find the same level of success as you once did with her. That's it for the ADCs. Now on to the supports. The support tier list also sees a ton of changes. In our S+ tier, we have Leona, Nautilus, and a new member, Senna. Senna has been one of the strongest supports in the game since her release, and the new AD support items are going to help her out a ton. She was already strong in patch 9.22, but she'll be even stronger this patch. Leona and Nautilus, on the other hand, will thrive off the newly changed Aftershock, and they'll be able to engage a lot more freely. Aftershock's cooldown is being changed from 35 seconds to 20 seconds, meaning that it'll be up every single time you want to engage. In our S tier, we have Pyke, Thresh, Morgana, Blitzcrank, Shaco, and Bard. These champs are the same as the ones from last patch, and you can continue playing them with decent amounts of success. Pyke is a notable pick amongst the roster because having that AD item will really help him out. On top of that, the Aftershock buff will only benefit him further. Okay, that was a long video. Thank you guys for sticking around this long with us. If you guys found any value from this video, then please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate that. And if you guys want to get better at League of Legends this preseason, we have a ton of resources to help you out. It's the perfect time to get a challenger coach to help you with your fundamentals. You really want to get into your dream division next season, and ProGuides is the best way to do it. The second part of our meta-analysis video will be available next week, which will give you the most accurate tier list available using fresh stats. That's it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Good luck in your next few games, and we'll see you on the Rift.